Welcome back to our podcast. Hey, look, we got another one coming up, and just glad that we're trying to keep this alive. Thanks for joining us. And once again, I'm Michael Murte, the drummer.
I am Philip. I am the bass player for Evile, the band.
My name is Christina. I do vocals for the band.
Welcome back, Christina.
Thank you.
And what you just heard as now what we officially have as our introduction song for both our shows and now the podcast is the song called Procession, and it's written by our keyboard player, John Phantom, and he joins us for the first time today.
Yes,
Hello.
that is John Phantom, our ever-loving keyboardist. One thing I wanted to talk about John is, each one of us has our own little perks and things about the band. We got Christina, she's the sexiness part of the band and the mysterious type. And John is definitely the chick magnet. How can I describe this guy? He's tall, long-haired, and it's just, what do you call it? He's been an excellent asset to this band, playing those keys.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty.
He looks dead sexy on the keyboard.
Dead sexy.
And he makes the keyboard a sexy instrument.
Yeah, and he just doesn't stand there like an idiot just playing, He actually, gets into it.
Yeah, he does.
My neck feels it after the show. Trust me.
Yeah, and yeah, the long flowing hair definitely looks great on stage when he's headbanging.
Oh yeah, really.
So
cool.
much so.
Yeah, because we'll do shows with John, and of course, all these girls always ask me about John.
Really?
All the time, and one in particular, what I was telling you earlier, was at the Kitty Kitty Bang Bang show, which was in Hollywood or Bordner's, one or the other, whatever.
Whatever the title of that bar is, there's like 5 million names for that place. It's Bar Sinister.
Oh yeah, every
Kitty
day
Kitty
it's
Bang
something
Bang.
different.
Yeah.
So we just finished a really good show. It was our first show with Christina. It was the first show where I can hold my head high compared to some of the others.
Right.
And a lot of people were coming to me left and right saying, "Yo, I liked your stuff," shaking hands, doing the deeds all around. And then,
Not to mention you're doing double duty that night. You're playing with both Evile Annie and Ruby Carrera.
You're whoring it up.
I know. So there's one part of the show one part after the show where I looked across and there's these two girls sitting on a table, or where they stand, I forgot. And I was drunk. And they're waving me over. They're like this, I'm waving my hand. And then they call
Were you
me.
doing the me?
Yeah, I was. I pointed at myself.
I'm gonna get lucky.
I know. I pointed at myself. I'm like, who, me? Like that. So I was picking myself up, ready
Cue
to
the
go.
Bee Gees music.
Yeah,
Look in the eyebrows.
Look in the eyebrows. Instead of walking normal, like I normally do, I was just like strutting over there, strutting my stuff. Like
Moving
they must
your little
want to talk.
tush on the catwalk.
They just want to talk to me about Evile, and they must like me, a dumbass, ugly troll like me. I'm like, oh, I'll try to do it. So I go over there. I'm like, hey, how you doing? I mean, my name's Philip. I'm the bass player, and did you like the band? We're called Evile Annie, and blah 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 blah. And they just looked at me and they're like, yeah. But we want to know what's the name of your keyboard player? I'm like, John? They're like, yeah. They're like, John. I'm like, him? Yeah.
There was a strong smell of musk in the air.
And it's funny too because anytime a female comes up, is like, you played good or you sang good or wherever I'm at the time, and I'm just thinking it's just total compliment. I never realized they're hitting on me. I just derp.
Girl's like, oh, I'm finally gonna approach this really cute guy. I need an opening line.
Yeah, so it's like they used me as a stepping stone.
Because
me and John are virtually the complete opposites.
No, Phil, you're more like...
Blonde and dark head.
He's blonde and tall, and I'm a short troll, black, long-haired, dark-haired guy. So they asked me, John this, John that, John this. And I was telling him, yeah, he's a keyboardist, and we've been happy with him, and he's a singer and all that stuff.
Is he single?
Yeah, it's just like in the cartoons where you see little hearts popping around them. So that is definitely the thing about our band, that John not only does the writes and does keyboards, but he's also our chick magnet, just like Christina is the
I'm the chick magnet too.
The sex appeal, the guy sex appeal magnet, and
We have plenty of eye candy on stage. I mean, we have LED lights. We
LED
got
lights.
We have
strobe
Annie.
lights. We have the doll. I mean, you know,
yeah,
we just try to.
we try to all contribute our own little thing more than just playing the instruments. You know,
We have the sexy cauldron on stage.
and plus our little quirky things about us, especially like our hair, like our keyboard,
Or my lack thereof.
yeah, I got long dark hair. You got like a regular guy haircut.
Yeah.
John's got the long blonde locks. Christina long hair, and then Daniel's got to be the worst haircut I've ever seen. Getting back to John, I had a little history with John, meaning I've worked with him before. This was back in, I'd say, about 2006, 2007.
Like 2005, 2006, I think.
And that's where Daniel put his own project, it was like a black metal.
Yeah, Ethereal Rain. It was a pretty interesting project, actually. But,
Yeah, he came to us with a bunch of music, and we decided to play with him for a couple of practices, and that's when I first met you.
Yeah.
And, you know, I couldn't do the project because I was going through a divorce at the time.
Now, was it all originals or was it
No, it was
like
all
covers?
originals. Honestly, when it disbanded, I was kind of upset because I was really getting into the music, and then all of a sudden it was like it didn't happen, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And it was you guys as a three-piece?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, we were at the time. I think I remember we were trying to find a drummer
Yeah.
to like complete it, but we didn't have a drummer
Mm-hmm.
for that style of music to like actually like play those because there's a lot of blast beats, a lot of fast,
Yeah.
really like.
Well, you could have used a drum machine or
And
something.
we were using a drum machine, but then it's kind of like you go to play a live show and you use a drum machine when it's
Yeah.
like black.
Well, I mean,
metal.
look at the band Ween. It's just two guys, so I mean, it's possible.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you're going to go to like a black metal crowd and actually play a show, and then you come up with a drum machine, it's not going to go over very well.
Yeah, throw stuff at you.
Exactly.
So I worked with John real quick, and then I left, and then next thing you know, John disappears. He completely disappears. He left the area.
I went up to like Simi Valley for a while.
Yeah.
Lived there for like about 4 years, and then I went all the way up to Fairfield, which is near Sacramento,
Yeah.
and ended up right back in my hometown that I grew up in, La Mirada. And at that time, Daniel got in contact with me because I had made mention that I was coming back down, and he's like, "I got a non-paying gig.
Yeah.
If you're interested in doing it." And I was just like, I want to do music. I don't care in what capacity, and hopefully it's something that I can get into. And because I didn't know too much about it, like when I had agreed to kind of listen to it and then come to a practice and see how the chemistry went, and chemistry went well. Like I really enjoyed it.
That's
so.
cool. Now, Phil, did you have an idea that Evile needed keyboards?
Yes.
Okay.
I always wanted to have an actual person doing the keyboards and not doing just tracks.
Because that's not really what you would consider like new metal or whatever, or dark metal or whatever we want to call our band.
Before we got John, it was a mixture of both. Daniel would do the keys and the guitars. So he would play guitar, and during the keyboard part, he would reach over and just do the keys.
Kind of like Geddy Lee, huh?
Yes,
From Rush?
he would switch back and forth. and then other songs, we would track the keyboards.
Oh, wow.
And I was playing drums at the time.
That must have been fun.
So I had to use the click track with the headphones. And that was difficult for me because I'm not used to playing with a click track, but I did it. And that's when I approached Daniel and I told him, I said, we got to get a keyboardist. I can't keep playing to these tracks, because I feel like I'm so stifled in these parameters of the click track. I mean, sure, everything's perfect.
Yeah, but you don't allow the music to breathe live. It just feels
Yeah.
like you might as well just be playing a CD.
Yeah, so we played the first show with the click track, and it just felt like a completely different band. And then once I told Daniel that we got to get a keyboardist, I believe Daniel contacted John first.
It must have been like, extraordinarily good timing, honestly, because like I know what you guys had a show like in August of 2012, and at that point I was still up in Sacramento, and then I think like a month from there I found out that we were going to be moving back down, and made the mention I was looking for work, and then I think it all fell into place exactly how it needed to fall in.
Yeah,
That seems to be a running theme with this band is like
That's
timing.
what I was going to say right now.
I mean, like, getting me out of retirement, I happen to be looking at Craigslist at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, oh, this band sounds interesting. Maybe I'll actually practice and audition for this band. It might actually get me to play drums. And then, we have a crisis situation, and we find Christina out of that crisis situation.
Yeah, because, and then Daniel, he told me, he says, hey, remember John? Do you, what do you we might be able to get John back. And I said, absolutely. I didn't even think about it. I mean, I didn't think twice about it. Let's get John in here. And then next thing you know, I'm messaging you, and I'm telling you all about the whole idea of this Evile Annie band.
Yeah, Phil and his famous string of emails. But go on, sorry.
Yeah, I sent you this long chain of emails, and I was going to ask you, when you first read them, what was your first reaction of the whole project?
My first initial reaction was I wasn't sure how it was going to translate on stage. I was like, is this going to be too campy? Is it going to be kind of like people are going to go, what? And like totally reject it? But I wanted to give it a chance, of course, because you never know. And after we played that first show, and like people were reacting pretty good, and I was just like, wow, all right, cool.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I mean, I really liked how much thought you put into the idea behind the band, because a lot of times people just go up there, and I've seen it a number of times where there's no story, there's no plan, there's no anything. It's boring.
Yeah.
And what we do on stage is anything but boring.
Yeah, because I remember I even told you that I wanted to put a little bit more sophistication behind the band, not just have just a bunch of killing on stage like Gore does.
Right, yeah.
That's all been done before. To me, it was more like a paranormal thing and about visuals, instead of just going up there and getting, a bunch of, rubber, plastic bodies and then fake blood shooting out. And
yeah, because anybody can do that. I mean, come on.
And with that keyboard element, you bring that kind of creepy, cool, like not so like Munster sounding, but more like the movie Halloween, or some other like horror movies that really like have stand the test of time.
And that's kind of the idea with the things that I do on the keyboard and things that I've changed around, is really try and bring a creepiness that isn't campy, that it kind of like you see the hair draping over the keyboard and it's just this creep factor.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the whole thing. I want the crowd to feel kind of uneasy as they're like watching us on stage, from stage left to stage right, like everything that everybody's doing, it should make them feel kind of uneasy, but kind of like when you have a sore on the top of your mouth, like it would go away if only you would stop tonguing it, but you can't do it. You can't stop watching.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that's what's cool about the band, because everybody has a cool image going on at the same time. So it's like everybody has something.
Yeah, we got the eye candy over here with the line here. We got the female eye candy to get our male audiences involved.
If you can't just call Christina eye candy, because I mean, like seriously, like.
But
she's got some pipes on her, and
it's only like 10% of it.
Yeah, it's like 10% of it, because
but she has such a sexiness and a power, and just she's definitely
talks the talk, walks the walk.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, John, I keep going to ask you, but why the keyboard when you first started? What made you say, I want to learn this keyboard?
Oh, well, it was a necessity when I wanted to start writing music for myself, because I had started out, back in middle school, like playing drums.
Yeah.
And it was something that I enjoyed doing for a while, and then I kind of lost the passion for it, because I wanted to write music.
Yeah.
And I played a little guitar, but really when I was going to be writing music, I was going to do it with like a keyboard, so I had all these like ideas in my head with like orchestras and whatnot, to really like flesh it out to be like a high production thing. And so I kind of just be like, well, you used to play bells in school, it's the same thing, it looks like a keyboard, I'll figure it out. And that's what I did.
And
cool.
And the other thing is that you actually, I mean, you're a keyboard player, but you're also a singer, and you bring that to the table also, which is pretty nice.
Yes, definitely. I mean, vocals is what I've mainly focused myself on for last 6-7 years. Really focused hard on that and, perfecting that. But now as we're like starting to like really like get some steam going for us, like I'm focusing a little bit more on the keyboards now because I want to bring it and evolve it even more and make it that much more layered when we're playing.
Now you also, besides have Evile Annie, you also have another project. You want to talk a little bit about that?
I can talk a little bit about it. Yeah, that's we're called Ursa Major. We're like a symphonic metal band. A lot of speed, a lot of orchestra, and it's kind of a lot of those songs are my babies that I've written a long time ago, and I decided when that group formed that it was the right people and the right genre that everybody wanted to do to kind of like release those songs, and so it's still in the works right now because we haven't really gotten too far on it, but it's going to be quite a high production value once we get it finished.
That's cool.
Awesome.
The other thing that I know you did was this YouTube video where you sang vocals. You did a cover of Camelot, right?
Yeah, basically a while back ago, Camelot, which is probably my favorite band in the world, their lead singer left the band. And it wasn't common knowledge, but they were holding auditions, and so I, auditioned with a couple of songs. And one of those has like almost like 9,000 views on YouTube now, which is pretty cool.
That's really awesome.
Yeah, no, it's and I got about 123 subscribers from it, just like following like vocal covers and waiting for like the other project Ursa Major to come off the ground. But it was actually kind of humbling. I went and saw Camelot back when they were here on, I think it was September 21st, and the founder of the band saw me, recognized me, and he's like, "You're still singing, right?" And I was like, "Yes, sir." Yes, I am.
He's like, "You better."
No, he was pretty adamant about it, and that was cool because it was kind of like a vindication to know that a band of that caliber saw my video, remembered me a year later, and was like, "You're still singing, right?" Like that was kind of keeps me going.
Yeah, and we'll have a link to John's video in the description of this podcast, so you can click it and take a look at it and make it 9,001 views.
You heard that, girls. Go up there on that. Now, one thing I like about what John does is his stage presence is just as equal to the rest of us up front. He just doesn't stand there like some dope, which I see some keyboardists do because they're locked behind the keyboard. They can't really venture out.
Or as we like to call, trapped behind the keyboard.
But I am glad that you have a pretty good, actually it's an excellent stage presence behind that keyboard.
Yeah, he does.
And once again, it just adds more to the visual on the stage.
Yeah, it's difficult at sometimes because there's certain parts where I really need to be focused, and my head cannot be headbanging on certain parts. But I pick my battles wisely and try and make sure that I'm not just a stiff back there during the songs. And I mean, and it's not just to do it, but I mean, I'm getting into the music. I like what we're doing, and I like the music that we're doing, and so that translates. With the energy that I'm throwing out there to the audience, like I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's something you can't fake.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what you're doing, like people will know or they won't.
Yeah, and especially when you play, I notice some people that I know, especially some guitarists, when they play the songs, they don't feel the songs. To them, it's just a bunch of math.
Yeah.
And you're at that point where you're playing and you just feel it, and it just comes.
Yeah. No, and that's the only way I know how to do it. I mean, yeah, you could be completely mathematical and hit the same notes exactly the same way as somebody who, I refer to it as the term being musical, because anybody can practice enough and become a musician and be good at it, but you cannot teach being musical, which is to feel the music, to understand it, and harness it. And you could be playing the same notes, but people are going to relate to the people who are feeling it.
Yeah. So making it organic,
connecting
and having it like breathe and live, as opposed to just being like, you could program it all into maybe like a software program or whatever to say play.
Yeah,
Exactly.
the OC Weekly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The OC Weekly.
What about it?
I should say the OC Weekly starring Christina again.
Yeah. With words and lyrics by Phil Alvarez and lyrics by John. So the writer of Locals Only at OC Weekly, Adam, finally wrote us up. I emailed him first and just kind of said, "Hey, we're promoting our shows. Or any way we can get into this?" And I was really surprised. He emailed me back, and at first he thought I was the bass player and Phil was the drummer, because we were kind of bouncing back about the fact that Phil used to play drums for Evile Annie.
Yeah.
And so he started asking me questions, and the first question he asked is, you guys talk about your ex. Is the new lead singer your ex?
Oh, yeah. I should be so lucky. Just kidding.
And so I was like, oh, no. Yeah, I mean, I can answer questions, but I think the best person to answer questions is the guy who came up with the idea. And I'll forward it off to Phil.
The creator.
And Phil did a really bang-up job of answering the questions, and I think they put the story together. It made sense. There was a little bit of humor in it. It's kind of us, and yet really showed like the serious tone of our nature.
And plus the realism about when he asked me my opinion about we talked about the last podcast about what I think of what bands do wrong when it comes to a live setting.
Right.
And I think that was my favorite question of all.
You couldn't wait to talk about that one.
You're like, oh, I have a big list. I'm ready. I'm ready.
He's like, finally, someone asked me the question I've always wanted. I've been prepared with this answer forever.
Yeah,
Let's do this.
He didn't ask me the same stupid question they always say. So how did it started? Or give me where you guys gonna go? His questions were a little bit more in depth, and I really like them. They're different. I like different. So I really enjoyed answering those questions, and he did an excellent job, especially on the print version, by putting Christina's picture up there.
Yeah.
Where she's holding the Bo Peep staff and the background. She looked really, really good. And by the way, the picture on the print version of the OC Weekly is done by Milana Photography.
Thank you, Milana.
Milana, she did an excellent, excellent job.
Yeah, it looked great.
Yeah, so kudos to her.
Yeah, it would.
You can find her on Facebook.
Yeah, Milana Photography. She is excellent.
And we'll be using a lot more Christina's promo pictures and all of our future gigs, too.
Oh, I know. If we put my picture, we're finished. So we've got to use Christina.
Maybe we'll superimpose John in the background.
John is fine.
God.
Just a floating keyboard next to Annie's head in the background.
Exactly.
Do like a shampoo commercial with my hair flipping back.
So, yeah, excellent article with the OC Weekly. And then
Thanks again, Adam, for doing that for us.
And then finally, our show that we just recently did a few days ago, which was October 26th.
Well, let's back up. Let's talk about Alex's Bar.
Oh,
first.
Alex's Bar, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That was the
20th.
20th.
The 20th.
Yeah.
On a Sunday.
On Sunday?
Okay, so let's talk about. So our we had a really busy week for the band. Besides the OC Weekly, we had 3 shows in a week.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. So starting with the 20th, we were playing in Long Beach at Alex's Bar, and for people who don't know, that's where they film. Was it Fantasia or Fangtasia, the bar that's in the show True Blood, where I don't know, it's like the first couple of seasons they actually really prominently showed it, and it was really cool to actually walk into that bar. What did you think, guys? It was like totally set up for Evile Annie. It was Halloween throughout the entire.
It was my first time going there. I was like, wow, it's really awesome setup.
It almost like it was made for us as far as the setting.
Felt like home.
The atmosphere in there was great, and they had an amazing selection of beer and cider on tap. Let me tell you, their pumpkin Guinness combination that was like snake bite, that stuff's dangerous.
Yeah. One of the things that I remember about Alex's Bar, and which is after we're done, some of the people will come up to me and they start giving me their comments. And a lot of thing that they say to me is they'll see
You're
us.
hot.
No, it's never that. We're setting up, right? And then while we're setting up, we're putting up all these lights, and you see some of the props and everything. And what happens is it gets people curious, like, what are these guys doing?
What the heck
what
is that?
is that?
Well, let's rewind that we show up in full makeup and
Exactly.
and
You know what?
gear.
I thought it was pretty nice. We're all in the parking lot, right? We walked in as a whole group.
Yeah.
I thought that was really neat.
That was
I was
cool.
like, that's
It was
cool.
our it's like our Reservoir Dogs moment where we had it
Exactly.
slow motion. We're like, you know,
Ba-da-da.
We should have been all lined up. Yeah, this guy and a couple others will say the curious factor got to them, and that's why they stayed. They're planning on leaving.
They're like freaks.
Yeah, and then they're like, wait a second, what are these guys doing? What's all those lights? What's this doll? And it got them to stay. And it was like an anticipation they got of what are we going to do next? And that's good to have is having the curiosity factor of what's going to happen next.
right, and you know, we were on stage and we did our first couple of songs, and then I felt vindicated when we actually got cheers right after we played Lonely, and it was just like,
Yeah.
oh, they like us. They actually like us.
I
Well,
know.
no, and I remember that, like, for the most part, like, for the first couple of songs, I'm just, like, headlong in the keyboard, and, like, I had a brief second to kind of look up, and I noticed that, like, everybody who was sitting at the bar had turned their chairs to the side, and they were like, what the hell is going on up here? I must watch.
Damn, that pumpkin cider is really good, though.
But that pumpkin cider...
Yeah, because John, when we put this together, I try to put myself in the audience perspective. If I was in the audience, would I have that curiosity factor too? And the answer is yes.
Yeah,
I
well,
would end up staying as well.
I think a lot of what the ideas, especially in the article at the OC Weekly, you bring up is we're the fans that are at the audience that are watching these local bands going, okay, this is what they should have done. This is how, you know, let's take it to the next level. So even though we're not, you know, quote unquote professionals that are getting paid to do this, but we want to come up and bring a theatrical show, a show that the entire audience actually can enjoy from start to finish.
A show that they're not going to forget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, with Alex's bar, then we moved on to Saturday where we had our big. We were hosting a Halloween show, but before we did that,
But I do want to, before we go on to that, I want to give a shout out to the Voodoo Organist.
oh yeah,
Oh,
Because
yes.
the
Yes.
Voodoo Organist was the headliner for the Alex's Bar show, and we were effectively opening up for him. And that guy can play. Like, he was a
brings it.
one-man show,
Yeah.
and within 3 seconds of him starting, it was like, I need to watch this, and I need to not look away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I want to give a shout out to him, and, like, we talked for a while after there, and he was a really cool guy. So, if you guys like some interesting music, definitely check him out too.
And I
You
noticed
can find him on Facebook.
and right after he was done, or we were done, I forgot which one it was, is that he gravitated toward you because you're a keyboard. He went straight to you.
It's like, oh.
And it was cool, and at the same time still humbling, because, like, he actually complimented me on my keyboard playing, and I was just kind of like sitting there. I'm like, dude, you put me to shame. But yeah, no, it was good. We chatted for a while, and he's a really cool guy, and
yeah.
so
And he effectively, you know, liked the fact that we warmed up the crowd for him. I'm sure.
yeah, and like, you know, he really dug what we were doing too. He gave us a lot of compliments, and so for
Yeah.
someone who's really established and got, you know, himself out all over and touring, like, he really liked what we did. So that was kind of another vindication that, you know, we're on the right track, and
And
we were getting some steam.
The Voodoo Organist, that's considered, it's a one-man band.
Well, he has some other people that perform with him sometimes. Like that
Oh.
particular time, like, it was just him, but he sometimes has a drummer and another guy with him. But yeah, I mean, he can perform
he can
all
handle
alone.
it by himself.
Yeah.
Another thing about the Alex's Bar, which you have to do as a band, which is when people come up to you, you got to give them your time. Absolutely. Because I've done it before where I want to go up to the band after they're done. I want to talk to them, give them praise or whatever, and they just snub me.
Oh, or my favorite thing is the band packs up their gear and then they sit out in the parking lot behind the stage, or, you know, outside and just drink and just tell each other, oh, how great we were, you know.
Oh, I know. They just pat themselves in the back the whole time. Like, people say, hey, you're great. And they're like, I know. You know, I don't want to be that way. I want to give the people a piece of us. If they want to take pictures, absolutely. I'll
Like
never
a
turn
piece
them
of us,
down.
like literally?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Well, they can get a piece of us now. We can actually sell T-shirts and we have
yeah.
stickers.
That's right.
That's right. That was
Merch.
Just
Alex's Bar was when we the first time where we sold merchandise. We finally got the merchandise out,
Yeah. So everyone, we now have T-shirts available. We have men's sizes, large and extra large.
And I learned a lesson at Alex's bar that night too.
Oh, what?
Not to drink before I go on stage with, Evile Annie.
Oh, why is that?
Because I almost fell on the drums.
Oh, no.
I almost fell on Daniel too.
So you weren't faking. I thought you really got into possession.
No,
I thought Annie
was,
took
but
over.
it just once I got off stage, I went to the bathroom because I was just like really out of
You
it.
felt
And
woozy?
Yeah. So after that, I was like, okay, I learned my lesson. I'm not gonna do that again.
You almost fell on Daniel?
And the drums.
Oh, you'd have knocked
Yeah,
him down.
I know. Like, oh.
The way I use alcohol is it relaxes me after the performance, because if I try to do it to cut the edge before the performance, then I'm too relaxed.
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh yeah, I forgot my bass drum needs to be played here.
I almost forgot a prop, and then Phil would have been like looking at me and be like, hey, what's going on here?
Just watch
The
it.
slave driver.
I know.
Well, sometimes me and Christine, we have a little powwow, a little meeting before the show. Like, remember this, remember that. Remember if I nudge you.
You mean
That's cool.
sometimes?
Sometimes.
That's funny sometimes.
So all in all, we had a great time at Alex's bar. We really appreciate even being invited.
Yes, thank you.
I was really surprised that we got to that was our first time playing Long Beach, right?
Yeah, first
The
time. Long Beach.
LBC.
And
BC.
and the crowd was really looked like either
They're
locals or
hot.
people that were there for the voodoo organist, and so we were really happy that we got the reaction that we did.
Yep.
So then, moving on, we had a week of going back to our day jobs.
Gotta have
Yeah.
and working, but
Work for the man.
the excitement of the OC Weekly story that came out that week was awesome. So that definitely made our hump day, so to speak. And by Saturday, we had the daunting task of playing 2 shows
in one night.
in one night.
Yeah. Because one of them was called Beautiful Transylvania, and the other one was Mirror Image.
Our Halloween spectacular.
Yeah. I mean, I at first I was skeptical if we were going to be able to pull this off.
Yeah. Well, the first show was in San Gabriel, which is about an hour from here.
Yeah.
And we knew we had to set up and take down and be back in Orange County by a certain finite time.
Yeah.
Because we also had to retouch our makeup, which is Charlotte,
Oh yeah.
John's
John's-
lady.
Yeah, so sorry, all the women that apparently go up to Phil to ask about me. Not gonna happen.
You can PM him.
You can pee on him?
PM.
Oh, you said pee on him.
Freudian slip.
Disappointment to all the female listeners out there.
Yeah, Christina, get the illusion. He's the Phantom on stage.
He is Phantom.
I mean, you're welcome to try, but you have a lot to try and measure up to. So
There's a pretty big obstacle, and that obstacle happens to be Charlotte.
she'll cut a bitch. No,
How would we describe this beautiful Transylvania place that we went to? It's like a vendor.
Well, it was an art show, and it was specifically an art show geared towards the macabre.
Halloween?
like kind of.
Which was beautifully done, too.
Yeah. I think they, for whatever their budget was, whatever they got together, they actually did a really good job. Because originally they were supposed to play the 19th of October, but that got shut down for whatever reason. So they had to find a new venue. They had to change the date and still try to get an audience out there. And I think we showed up, and we were graciously brought to the host, Andy.
Andy Gomez,
Thank you,
Leopard
Andy.
Rose Productions. Thank you for having us out.
Yeah,
Yes.
she did a great job of making us feel at home. She definitely gave us this great feeling with. She gave us all laminates, so we all of a sudden felt
That
like,
was
holy
nice.
crap, we're actually serious here.
And they gave us a decent stage.
Yeah.
Beautiful, yeah.
no, it really was.
Yeah. So
It wasn't just some corner where we're all piled up.
Right, like some clubs. I mean, we actually had some breathing room for once, and we definitely took advantage of that. We kind of figured out the lighting and sound setup, and I think we did a pretty good job at entertaining the people. It's the first time we actually had a true family friendly audience.
Yeah.
So we
Kids
definitely had to
The
watch
kiddies.
some of our lyrics and our interactions. But
And I want to mention we had a Spinal Tap moment at the very, very beginning because there's a big curtain.
Oh yes.
yeah.
And what happened, if I remember right, the curtain opened slowly, or was it fast? I forgot. It was open, and all of a sudden, I see Daniel's mic.
The skeleton mic. That happened.
Yeah.
The
The
mic
one he
stand.
just built.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
It got stuck in the curtain, so it started to fall over.
It was like when you see somebody getting pulled off stage with a cane. It's just kind of like.
And then I look over and I see Christina running across the stage. Running. And I'm like, what's she running to? And I look over there, oh, now I see why she's running.
Now, if you ever see our show, what we try to do is we try to introduce Christina kind of slowly. The band kind of shows up, and then our singer kind of emerges
With a knife.
ready to sing. But we gave that preview, which was Christina running across stage, grabbing the microphone before it falls completely.
In her high heels, like clip clop, clip clop.
I know. It's like clack, clack, clack all the way across the stage.
All the while, the band usually has their back to the stage, so they had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, I'm glad we recovered from that. And then also in the middle of the show, I remembered that something happened to your mic stand, and you went over and you went on mine.
Yeah. And you know what? That mic was actually a little bit better. It was like I
Really?
could tell it was like a little bit louder. But yeah, because the mic fell, I just jumped on yours.
Yeah, it's one of those things that just happens.
Yeah.
And I guess sometimes, things go awry, like with the mic stand. I think it fall over, or
You know what?
I think
At the moment, because I had to get a prop, I didn't properly put the mic back in place. So it's kind of
Oh.
hanging a bit, and I guess it just, it fell. Oop.
Well, but the mic stand kind of collapsed on itself too.
Yeah,
so
that
it
too.
wasn't so much the mic placement, but I think it was
Well,
just.
I'm glad you thought fast and you just went straight to my
Yeah.
mic. You didn't go to John's, otherwise he's like a whole foot taller than you.
Yeah, and I got to give kudos.
I saw an open mic. I'm going for it.
I got to give kudos to the rest of the band because that could have been a train wreck, and we decided to add a measure in between the song. So we
Yeah.
could get everyone back on track.
On
And
track.
it was like,
Yeah.
at first, we didn't know what was going to happen next, and then we slowly went, okay, we know where we are now. And then Christina started singing, I was like, that's where we are, guys, and everyone realized it without doing the
As a
finger
band.
pointing. Or
Yes.
Yeah, the weirdness.
It was on
like,
Halloween, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because I remember, like, I hit like a couple chords, and I'm like, I don't hear lyrics. And I kind of
Going
looked
on?
over, and I'm like, well, I'll just wait for her to start singing, and then start counting.
See, one of the things that we pull off with that is when things go wrong and you're playing, and then you have to like catch on with each other. And the one thing I like to do is not look like you're confused, because some people, when their body language, it's so obvious that they look, like a deer in the headlights. They're looking around
Yeah.
like, what do we do, kind of thing.
Or you could tell, like, I'm not going to recover from this. This is just going to be the worst thing that can ever happen because everyone sees that I'm actually making a mistake and the stage is going to fall on me. And
Yeah, we kind of stayed calm, and we let Christina sing, and then we just compensated for her.
Yeah, she just, came back to be on point and being like, this is where we are. And we all went, yes, that's where we are, ma'am.
Yeah. Because we didn't like look at each other all strange. You get that, with your eyebrows go down. You're like, what do we do?
Well, thank God we were makeup because you can't see our eyebrows.
I know. So that was It was
So we-
called Beautiful Transylvania.
Yeah, and we love the venue. We wished we could have stayed longer and maybe close out the show. But I think we gave the audience what they needed at that point.
Yeah.
And
And we had a whole ass.
unfortunately, we had to
Oh, yeah.
pack right up, and we did the worst hurry up and wait I've ever had for our main show, the show that
Yeah.
we put together. The whole reason why we actually panicked and really wanted Christina to show up. We had this mirror image show planned throughout summertime that we really wanted to play this place, and especially with the band being the way it is, to have a great Halloween show. Put together a bunch of bands,
Yeah.
and give our audience the love that we think they deserve, plus give them a great show.
Yeah.
So we were told we had to be at Mirror Image at 10 o'clock sharp,
Yeah. So we were racing the hell out of there.
and we got there right on time.
Yeah.
And then we noticed, hey, wait a second, isn't that band supposed to be done? Isn't there supposed to be another band? Didn't we have I don't know.
I don't care. I'll just say it. It's White Lie. I don't give a
They
shit.
took 45 minutes to set up.
I think it was an hour, but who's counting?
Yeah,
That
that
a
old,
long time. Disrespectful.
that old geezers. They're just nothing but a bunch of quiet riot wannabes.
Yeah. Were they wearing wigs? I wasn't quite sure. I know that they wore bandanas, but they might have had hair issues.
You know what? Whatever it was disrespectful. They knew other bands were playing that night. You know what? If you know other bands are playing that night, you're gonna play, set up fast, play, and get off the stage for the other band.
It's showing
That's
a little bit of respect.
Exactly, and they
consideration
didn't.
for the one.
And that's what's it called? Oh, egos.
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, before this, I mean, now you can kind of understand why they're called White Lie. They should have just called themselves Big Fat Liars, because they put their ego. They put this whole idea that they were bigger than life, and they tried to sell everyone on this idea that they were the best thing to come since any band, because apparently they're all ex-musicians from bands that may have gotten record deals, and maybe they decided you're not the right guy in our band, and that's really why.
Never heard of those bands too. They're like listing them. Like, okay, I don't know the band.
Yeah, they were probably famous in 1984. When Van Halen was that popular, and that could, nothing wrong with their musicianship. I thought they were good for what they did, but it's a cover band first of all.
Yeah.
I mean, did they have anything that was original? Anything I heard.
Rock and roll.
Long live rock
And it was
3, 1, 2, 3.
Long live rock and roll.
the stuff that was going on backstage. I'm sorry, our audience members, that we promised that we'd be on around 11.
And thank you for sticking around.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
We're sorry for putting you through those old fucks at first until we finally got on.
At 12:15, might I add.
1 hour and 15 minutes after we were supposed to be on.
But I was so glad when our first reaction was, not anybody was sitting on a chair when we were performing.
Yeah, everybody was standing up.
Everyone was up on near the stage,
Yeah.
which I didn't see any other band while we were there have that happen. And everyone cheered for us as if we were doing the right thing.
It was almost like we were a breath of fresh air compared to White Lie that came on before us.
It was fueling me up. I was like, they're gonna do this. I'm like, all right, we're gonna kick ass then.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, the way I felt at the end of that gig was we destroyed the place.
Well, and I remember, we finished, we did our bow, and man, there was a couple guys who I didn't know who they were, but the first thing that came out of the mouth when he realized that our set was over, he's like, dude, put them back on. They were hot. And I was just like, there was this feeling of pride, like, yes.
And they didn't play a 12-minute guitar solo that put half the audience to bed.
And we did a good job, but we weren't like, oh yeah, like White Lie, like they just kind of like, yeah, you guys were good, but it's like, once again, you guys were doing this to us, and it just wasn't cool.
We were emotionally upset at what they were doing, but we kept our cool, and we tried to keep it as professional, because we should have jumped on stage with baseball bats and got them off the stage.
I was about ready to do that. You know the circuit breakers? I was going to go trip those.
I know, man. Phil was mad.
I was very mad. I mean, if I didn't have the white makeup on, my face would have been red.
And I hope the audience that was out there, that hopefully is listening to this right now, agrees with us. I mean, that this is our viewpoint. I don't want to start any kind of flame war or whatever with the other bands. This is our reaction to what happened.
Well,
and I mean, I'm sorry, but like, I remember hearing their roadie at some point say, as they were taking their sweet time to get set up, he was like, well, all these people are here to see you guys. Yeah. And I'm just like, really?
Well, I think he's the roadie that helps them out after the show when they don't get the chick. He's like, okay, I'll get on my knees.
Well, regardless of the fact, it was, he said that in earshot, and that couldn't be further from the truth, because there was not a draw, from what I could see, that were there to see them.
Oh, no, none at all.
So, I mean,
if they were, they'd all be in wheelchairs or walkers or something like that. But you know what? That is one way, because I don't like band enemies. I hardly have any. But
yet we have two now.
But that's doing that so blatantly like that, that's one way of getting a band enemy.
Oh, definitely.
Especially when you don't even apologize, you just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Nothing.
We all know that we have to crowd on the stage. We have to set up. You have to be respectful for not only the band that's ahead of you that got pushed back for whatever reason, but the band that's behind you. You got to get the stuff off the stage.
Yeah.
I get it. You like having a 14-piece drum set and make you look like Neil Peart. I get it. But if your song doesn't call for it, don't bring that on stage. You don't need that extra 6-inch tom or the 4 million cymbals that you never use.
Yeah, and I mean
Totally.
that disregard to everybody else who was playing after them. I mean, we got pushed back, yeah, but I mean, the band that came on after us, Maxwell Carlisle, man, they didn't get to start playing until like almost 2.
I felt
that's
sorry
terrible.
for them. I felt sorry for them even more than us.
Yeah. When they finally,
You know what? That's great that they stayed to even play. Most bands were like,
Yeah.
you know what, bye, we're leaving. But you know what? They
stuck it out.
They stuck it out, yeah.
Yeah, and like I stayed, even though I was deathly tired at that point. I stayed and made sure that I was giving them the support because they went through this exact same thing that we did, if not a little bit worse.
The drummer was pissed. I remember I could see him coming up the stage with his drumsticks.
Oh,
He just
yeah.
was ready to tear somebody's head off.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I feel
I
your
felt
pain.
bad. I mean, he and I were both setting up our drums, pre-setting up our drum set, mind you. This is something that other bands should think about. And
Tip.
we were ready to go on stage, and thank God we had the volunteer roadies. Damien, thank you, and Bernie, thank you for getting our stuff on the stage and getting off at a great amount of time. And we knew we only had like a hallway that we can get stuff in and out.
Yeah.
And
That slants down.
yeah, and we just got off the stage as quick as we could. We would have loved to have meandered while our outro music was playing and thanked our audience a million times, but we knew we had a job to do, and our job was to come in there, make a tight set, and get out of there.
Yeah.
See, that's why any other bands that play after us, because everything is so rehearsed, we are definitely would fulfill our obligation staying in that time slot allowed for us. Because any band that plays after us, they have nothing to worry about. We would be off in time.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I mean, we definitely don't carry the ego as a headliner does. We carry our ego as an opening band. We just want to get out, warm the audience up, get them all ready to rock for whoever's after us.
Yeah.
Okay, so Christina, you've done altogether we've done 4 shows together, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay,
Wow.
so each show has gotten progressively better as we become a tighter band. Someone used the term well-oiled machine. We're getting there. How's your feeling about being in our band?
It's still awesome because each show it kind of progresses. Like Phil was talking about, like we had the whole stage set up. So taking Annie out and like holding her and stuff like that. It's just, it's I can't wait till the other shows come and, see what's going to happen.
Is it starting to feel like your band? Do you
It
feel
is.
Like, you feel like a family with us?
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful.
I feel comfortable. I feel really lucky that I'm in 2 bands with awesome, talented people. I feel really lucky.
And you feel comfortable on that stage.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Not as jittery as that first show, right?
Not as true.
I didn't even notice the jitters on the first show. I was
I'm going
just
to be
like,
bugging her forever on that one.
I was so nervous.
I couldn't tell. I was just like, I watched the video and I was just like, yes, finally. Awesome.
So before we end the show, we like to mention that we're going to be playing a couple of shows in November still that are booked. We have November 10th at a bar called Loaded, once again with Ruby Carrera. Are you playing double duty in the band again?
I am doing double duty.
Double.
Okay. And that's November 10th. That's a Sunday, and get there. It's the early bird plate special.
And I hope I'm not cranky because I'm doing double duty with you guys.
Well, at least we're not going to try to book another show earlier in the day, and then you got to play the.
Well, see, on the bright side, it won't matter because I think we open, so you'll be playing with us first. You can be grumpy on the other
You
one.
can be cranky with Josie and Ruby.
Yeah, it's
Just don't bite Josie, please.
No, it's my last show with Carrera, and I was happy to do it, and my stint will be over with them soon. Because this is the last show I signed on with them, and I think after that I leave, they're going to take a little break and regroup.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They don't have a bass player lined up?
I don't know yet,
Oh, okay.
but it was all part of the plan.
And then we have another show November 22nd at Die Piazzas.
In Long Beach.
Is it Die Piazzas or
D Piazzas.
D Piazzas.
D
I don't know.
Piazzas.
I always
We're
think of
going back to Long Beach.
Yeah, but D Piazza seems to be a favorite haunt of a lot of old school musicians and stuff. So, and it looks like I mean, they have really great pizza. Besides the fact that it's a nice venue.
Well, the other thing that's really cool is it's going to be in conjunction with a horror burlesque performance as well. So, I mean, there's going to be... It's going to kind of perfectly match with what we do on stage and in conjunction with, like, the Long Beach Comic and Horror Con. So, I mean...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good show.
First time for me ever doing a burlesque.
And who's hosting
type
that
of
one?
thing.
Fever Blister.
Fever Blister.
I think her name is
Nice.
Jennifer Monroe.
Look
Yeah.
her up, everyone.
Yeah, check her out.
She has big, what?
Big tracts of land. A couple of mounds.
I was looking at the smile. Yeah, that was it. I was looking at her smile.
and
Beautiful.
hopefully...
Big smile.
Hopefully she brings out a few friends for the audience. So not only will we have the eye candy with John once again, but we'll
And we've
also
got our
have
weapons
eye
here.
We
candy
just
for
keep going back to that, don't we?
It's my favorite thing tonight.
I guess.
The fact that we did a callback to Fabio later.
Can't believe it's not butter.
All right. Well, with that, we'd like to thank you for listening and getting to this end here. Hopefully, you always see my Easter eggs that I add. You know, this is kind of the proof to see if you're listening. But we definitely enjoy having an audience, and we hope you come out to our shows.
Oh, and maybe we'll start doing more of these podcasts more often because we had a big gap.
Yeah, well, we were a little busy there, Phil. We were looking for a freaking singer, and
between 2
we
and
found
3.
one.
You know, because we love to talk. That's why.
Yeah.
Anyway, so thanks again for listening. Our next show will introduce D. Volpez, or Daniel D.V.
Ooh.
All right. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Bye.